Welcome back to Talking Sports with Brandon. This is the NFL Week 11 recap video. Again, if you didn't see my Week 11 preview video, definitely watch that before watching this because we talked about the games that were happening this week. I made my 5 picks and some other news as well that was happening. So definitely check that one out first. But we'll start with my 5 picks. Good week. We went 3-2 this week. So overall record's 25, 27, and 3. So again, getting closer to 500, getting over 500 as well. Actually, the games that I thought I kind of felt the most confident in didn't hit, and the ones I still felt confident, obviously, because I picked them. But just in terms of the 5, it wasn't at the top of my confidence list, and those are the ones that actually hit. So we'll talk about them. Also, talk about the other games this week, and then it's obviously a short week with 3 Thursday games, Thanksgiving games. So actually, in this video, I'm going to make my picks for the Thanksgiving games, just because I don't think I'll be able to get another video out in time. I still want to talk about those games and then look towards the games on Sunday. So I'm going to make those 3 picks in this video. That will count for 3 of my picks for the week. And then I'll do 2 for Sunday's game. So I have a lot of games to choose for those 2 picks. So I guess that's a good thing. There's no teams on buys in week 12. So that's every single team's going to play. So that also does help as well. But like I said, we'll start with my 5 picks from this week. So it started. My first pick was Panthers Ravens. I had Ravens minus 13. This was an ugly game. There were a couple ugly games this week, 2 in particular. This was one of them, and the final score was 13-3. And it kind of sucks because obviously they won by 10, which obviously didn't cover, but they did have a chance to kick a field goal late to get it to 13. At least it would have been a tie. At least I wouldn't have got the loss for it. But they ended up not doing anything. So I'll just say from this one point, they got the ball at the 41-yard line of Carolina. It's with 3.5 minutes left in the game. And they got no yards and had to punt. They maybe still could have kicked the field goal. I mean, you obviously have Tucker. Now, again, at that point, it's 13-3. So, Carolina wasn't moving the ball anyway. So, are you really worried about giving them great field position? I don't think you really should have been because they couldn't do anything offensively. And it's a 10-point game. It's not. If it was 10-3, I could understand it. Just pin them back. They can't move the ball anyways. You're gonna stop them, force a turnover, which is exactly what they did. They got an interception on the next drive. But 13-3. Now again, they're still just trying to win the game, but they're not worried about what the spread is. But just in terms of me and looking at that, I was hoping that they would kick that field goal because, again, they do have Tucker, who's the best kicker in history. So that hurt a little bit, but you know what? They really didn't deserve to – I didn't deserve to get a tie on this game because the Ravens played awful. They punted literally every single drive. The first half is punts. The first drive, the first, 7 drives of the game are punts. Then the Ravens got picked off, punt for the Panthers, and then a field goal right at the end of the half for the Ravens. That's how the first half went. It was just an ugly, ugly game. The only touchdown came because of a Carolina fumble, and then Lamar Jackson got a 1-yard touchdown. So it was ugly. It was not pretty at all, and I didn't deserve to win it. And then, again, it could have been a tie. I didn't deserve that either. But this one I feel confident in because, you're playing Carolina at home. It seems like it kind of felt like the Ravens kind of needed one of those games that they usually have where Lamar is a really big game. Everything's clicking. I thought the defense would play really well. It did. Is it the defense play really good or did the offense for Carolina play really bad? You could say it's a mixture of both, but I think that Baltimore's defense played really well in this game. It's just the offense didn't do anything. And Carolina's got a good defense, but that's kind of a game where again, 13-point favorites, you kind of just expect that they're going to blow them out. And, as long as the offense was working, they would have, but it wasn't. So that was the first loss. So 0-1. Second game, Eagles-Colts. I had Eagles minus 7. They won 17-16. So clearly didn't cover. The Eagles actually probably should have lost this game, if we're being honest. They didn't really deserve to win this game. They were down the entire game. They were down 13-3 with 13 minutes and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and they were losing the entire game. It started with a Jonathan Taylor touchdown. They got a field goal. They got another field goal. The Colts did to make it 13-3. Eagles just had nothing working offensively. The running game wasn't doing much. Hurts had a good game on the ground, but a lot of that kind of was scramble. He was definitely making plays with his legs. Through the air, he only threw for 190. It was just one of those games where penalties hurt them a lot. They had big penalties that, kind of took away big gains. A.J. Brown fumbled after Jonathan Taylor fumbled. That could have been a turning point in the game right there, because it happened with, it was the Colts. It's 13-10 now. This was after the Eagles touchdowns to make it 13-10. It's still, a lot of time left in the fourth quarter, and it looks like this Colts are actually kind of driving, and it's 3rd and 1. Jonathan Taylor picks up the first down, and they're at midfield here. And it's one of those plays where he's like in the middle of a pile, and they kind of keep moving. So the refs didn't call it dead. I don't think they should have called it dead because he was moving and the pile was moving. But it was almost like he was fighting for too many yards almost, because he already got the first down. And again, you want to get as many yards as possible. But if he had just gone down or got tackled or whatever it was, he wouldn't have fumbled the ball, and they would be on the plus side of the field driving to make it a potential 2-score game with a touchdown. So he fumbled, but then right after that, A.J. Brown fumbled, so I guess it kind of evened itself out. But the Colts were only able to muster a field goal off that. And then obviously the Eagles went down, got a touchdown, and they turned them over on downs on the next drive to end the game. So the Eagles really should have lost this game. They just couldn't move the ball. Like I said, penalties, punts, just nothing was working for them. That's 2 games in a row now that they just haven't looked good. Washington's playing a lot better. I guess the Colts have kind of a culture change since Jeff Saturdays took over, but those still aren't 2 great teams. I mean, maybe Washington makes the playoffs, maybe, but even still, they're not that good at teams, and it's a little worrying. Maybe again, it's been a great 2+ months so far, or 2.5, 3 months, whatever it's been. But maybe you kind of see exactly what they are. Now, I think they're still a really good team. I think they probably, between them, the Niners, and the Cowboys, those are the 3 best teams in the NFC. But I think it's definitely a little worrying that your team has kind of hit some trouble. Now, maybe they right the ship. Their schedule does get harder now. They had a very easy schedule, the Eagles. Now they play the Packers this week, but who knows? I mean, the Packers aren't a great team, but they can still put together at least one game, as you saw against the Cowboys, where they can be very competitive and win a game, come from behind, score points. So possible. Titans, that's a tough game as well. So it's not the easiest schedule going forward. It's still somewhat easy, but it's definitely a little harder than it was throughout these first 9 games or so. But yes, that was my second loss of the week. Third game, but that's where the losses end, so that's a good thing. Speaking of Washington, Commanders, Texans, I should say. -3 Washington is what I had. This was never even a question. It ended up being 23-10 this game, but if Washington, this game easily could have been 30-3. You could probably say it was a blowout. It was not even close. Final score at least makes it a little bit closer than it really looked. But this game started with a pick 6 opening drive for Washington. They got the pick 6, so they made it 7-0 really quick. Then they added another touchdown, 2 more field goals, so it's 20-3 going into half. And then they got 1 more field goal in the fourth quarter. So, and then the Texans touchdown came very late in the fourth. So again, it was garbage time. Didn't really matter at all. So this one was easy. I knew exactly what the plan was going to be. I said that the Texans want to run the ball, and if you force them to throw the ball, they're not good. They're not a good team anyways, but especially when that's the case. And Dameon Pierce, 10 carries for 8 yards. They ran for 21 yards on 16 carries as a team. It was just so obvious to see. Washington is a great front 4. They could really stop the run, and that's the one thing that the Texans do. And it's not like they have Derrick Henry or they're a team that will just keep running the ball, and they had the formations and the schemes like a Miami or a San Francisco to where there's gonna be holes, and the offensive linemen are better than the defensive linemen. It just wasn't the case in this game. I knew it, that's why I picked it. Washington's riding high. I mean, they're playing really well. The offense did, again, just enough that it needed to do. It helps when you get a pick six to start things off before the offense even touches the field. But it's Washington, again, they're 6-5. Do I think they're a real threat, like I was saying before? No, but, they could be really, they can be challenging for a lot of teams. I mean, they have a good defense. The secondary is not great, but you can't expose the secondary if, one, you can't run the ball, and two, even if you do get behind in games, that means the pass rushers get turned loose, and it's going to be tough for you to have enough time to throw the ball down the field. So they have a good game plan in their heads. Chase Young is coming back. I don't think he's going to play this week, but he was activated, or at least will be activated maybe for next week. So it looks like next week is when he's going to play. They play the Falcons this week. Next week they play the Giants, so that could be a big game. They beat the Falcons. They're 7-5 in division game. They actually play the Giants 2 weeks in a row with a bye week in between. So that's a huge 2 games for Washington right there. And again, they're going to get Chase Young back. So that's just another guy on that front four who's more of a pass rusher than a Jonathan Allen or De'Aaron Payne. So they're getting healthier and they're looking a lot better. But that was the first win right there. And my third game of the week. Fourth game, Bengals-Steelers. I had Bengals minus 3.5. They won 37-30. So definitely close, but obviously still covered. Burrow, I think he only has I got to see how many interceptions he has for the season, but he has 8 interceptions for the season, and 6 of them have come against the Steelers. He threw 4 in week 1 and then 2 in this game. So something about the Steelers, I don't think, we'll see how many times he got sacked in this one, because that was obviously the biggest question in week 1. It was only 2 times in this game, so definitely a lot better protection. Didn't play without Jamar Chase again. He looked like he could have played, but he didn't. Joe Mixon got a concussion. He left pretty early on in the game. So without arguably his 2 best weapons offensively, he still put up 355, 4 touchdowns, and led them to 37 points. So very impressive there. I think that just bodes very well for their team in the future, seeing that without Chase, I mean, they had the 1 bad game against the Browns, but they've looked pretty good without him. And obviously when you add him back, then T. Higgins gets the second corner. Tyler Boyd can play the slot. You obviously have Jamar Chase, who's going to draw a double, or he can just beat someone one-on-one. Mixon comes back. Samaje Perine, their backup running back, was huge in this game. I think he had 3 touchdowns in this game. Yeah, he had 3 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys are contributing. The offensive line has played better as of late. And the defense, I mean, 30 points to the Steelers isn't ideal. It's not obviously a high-scoring team. Pickett looked pretty good. No interceptions in this game. A touchdown, 265 through the air. Najee Harris has looked a lot better the last couple of weeks. He had 90 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. But, I mean, I think the Bengals are trending in the right direction towards being a threat in the AFC. Obviously, you have Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens. And in the Dolphins, I should say. The Dolphins are probably ahead of the Ravens in my book. But the Bengals are right there. I think the Bengals, once they're healthy, and then that stretch run towards the playoffs, and then in the playoffs, and winning this division is going to be big against the Ravens, but they're definitely a threat, and you definitely do not want to play them if you are in the playoffs. That's for sure. Because the offensive firepower and the defense can get hot. It's not entirely hot right now, but it can be. But that was the second win, and then the last game of the week, Niners-Cardinals, minus 8.5 San Francisco. This one was easy. When I picked this, I definitely felt confident in it for sure. But I kind of knew Kyler Murray wasn't going to play. And I said even if he did, which it didn't look like he was going to, I still would have picked it. But yeah, he didn't play. Colt McCoy wasn't terrible in the game. But once they got behind, once San Francisco, they started off a little bit slow, but once they got rolling, there was nothing that the defense could do to stop them. Kittle had a monster game, 2 touchdowns. Ayuk had 2 touchdowns as well. McCaffrey had a big game. Not really on the ground. He only ran it 7 times, but through the air, he had a big game, 7 for 67. So Jimmy G's playing really well, 4 touchdowns, 20-29, 230 through the air. No sacks against them. They're just playing at a really high level right now. Or Ayuk had 1 touchdown, or he had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, what I was thinking was Debo had an end-around touchdown as well. So he had a rushing touchdown. But they're just playing really well right now. And, their secondary is a little weak with the corners that have gone down for them, which is maybe a little concerning towards a playoff run. But That front seven's so good. They can get to the quarterback when they want to. The back end's good enough. They say they have pretty decent safeties for them. It's good enough that it can hold up. And again, if the offense plays like this, if Jimmy G just doesn't make mistakes, doesn't throw turnovers, bad plays, they're going to be really tough to beat. I mean, like I said, it's Niners, Eagles, Cowboys in the top three. One of those teams is going to make it out. One of them's going to have to play each other. You would probably think Niners, Cowboys, just because the Eagles will probably end up getting the bye. It's not obviously, set in stone yet. But let's say they do, then the Niners and the Cowboys would most likely play each other. You have to see if the seedings work out and everything like that. But, whatever team misses out on that is definitely lucky, because you're facing one of the best teams in the league if you don't play that game. They're primed for the playoffs. They're now leading the NFC West, with Seattle, because they already beat Seattle, so they have the edge over them, and they're definitely on their way to winning that division. I don't think there's any question or any doubt about that. So that was my third win. So that's what put me to 25, 27, and 3 on the season. And for this week, or I guess let me talk about the rest of the games. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but some other games I wanted to talk about. So I think Cowboys Vikings, I'll talk a little bit here, and then again, my Cowboys video will be out, should be out tomorrow to when you're seeing this. So again, check that out to see the full recap of that video. But the final score is 40-3. So it's a good video. It's going to be entertaining, a lot of good things, and it was. This game, it started. Micah Parsons got a strip sack on the third play of the game. And that just set the tone for the game. The Cowboys had 7 sacks on Kirk Cousins, completely shut down Jefferson. Just the Vikings did nothing in this game. Defense was getting shredded through on the ground, through the air. Tony Pollard had a big game. Dak with a really big game as well. Just everything was clicking. It was probably the most complete game an NFL team has played in terms of offense, defense, and special teams the entire season. And that's probably a fact. I don't think that's even just an opinion. Again, if you want to hear more about that, definitely check out that video, because it's going to go way more into detail, drives, talking about certain players, details, intricacies of the game. But yes, that was definitely one of the biggest things. Obviously, Vikings being, before that game, obviously being 8-1, and people didn't think they were, that good of a team. Their point differential was only plus 35 going into the game. Now it's -2, and they're 8-2. So it's definitely kind of maybe answered some questions that people had about them. But I think they're still a good team, but they're definitely not that good of a team. They're not a team that's let's say they end up 13-4 or whatever they end up as. Like, they're not that good of a team. I think that they kind of a little bit their schedule is not the hardest. Again, they're in a division that's very easy with the Lions, the Bears. Even though the Lions have played a lot better, it's still the Lions, and they played them early. But they had to come back on a lot of teams, a lot of one-score games. It was just very, you just didn't really believe it. And again, this kind of answered a lot of people's questions. But that was one game. Jets-Patriots, this was the other disgusting game from this week. It ended up being 10-3. The Jets they had like 100 yards of offense in this game. They had 2 yards of offense in the entire second half of the game, which is almost hard to do. The Patriots defense just went to town. The Jets defense played really well too, but at least the Patriots looked somewhat confident on offense. They went for it on 4th down one time. They got stopped. They missed 2 field goals. They were just not really converting on points, while the Jets just couldn't even move the ball. So as long as the Patriots scored, literally, if they just hit one of those field goals, they would have won 6-3, and the Jets would not have been able to score. So it came down to a punt with 20 seconds left that the Pats returned for a touchdown. That was the only touchdown of the game. It was the game ender. It won the game to make it 10-3, and that's how it's kind of fitting, I guess. I don't know that the fact that the offenses were so bad that the special teams had to score the touchdown. But the Pats are 6-4, Jets are 6-4. Jets could have been first in the division with the win. Now they're last in the division with the loss. Pats, they're still 6-4. You got to give them credit. I really don't think they're that good of a team. The defense is for sure bailing out their offense, but it is tough to bet against a Patriots team, a Belichick coach team, and it's proving that that's true, because I didn't really expect this team to win 6 games. I probably expected 4 or 5 wins from this team, but they're definitely proving me wrong. So credit to them. That division's a really good division. Obviously, Bills, Dolphins, and then Pats, Jets. But that was one of the games. Giants lose to the Lions, 31-18. Again, like I was just talking about the Lions, but they play tough. They've won now 3 straight games. So they play really tough, and they can score offensively. But that defense has gotten better. Aiden Hutchinson had a pick in this game. He's actually had a really good rookie season. I didn't think he'd be this good so far, but he actually has been. But the Giants, again, another team like the Vikings, where the talent is for sure less. So people didn't really put them. I think it's like those top 3 teams in the NFC, just in terms of these, and then between the Vikings and the Giants, it would be like the Vikings and then the Giants on a different level. Just because at least the Vikings do have talent on that team, like Jefferson, Thielen, Cook, Cousins, Hockenson. They have guys in their defense as well. There's really only like Barkley and then a couple other guys on the Giants who are really noteworthy, game-changing guys. So I think people, again, kind of expected this. They were waiting for it to happen. Maybe not against the Lions, but now the Giants, they put obviously the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So that's obviously a tough game. Like I said, they play Washington, Philadelphia, Washington again, Minnesota. So they have a lot of tough games coming up. At being 7-3, you think you're in a good spot, but if you start losing these games, you wonder how many wins it's going to take to get into the wild card spot in the NFC. Is it 9? Is it 10? Well, that means you got to win a couple of these games, and they're very tough in-division games, on-the-road games, so it's going to be tough for them. But again, people kind of expected this to happen. Maybe not this week, but they did expect it to happen at some point. I think another game to talk about is Chiefs-Chargers. I said we talked about it last week, and we were talking about how the Chargers could, potentially stay in this division if they were to win this game. They'd be 6-4. Kansas City would be 7-3. They'd split the season series, and who would know? You're still a game back, but who knows what could happen as the Chargers get healthier. They kind of look a little bit more like the team that they were supposed to be coming into the season. But Chargers lose 30-27. Kelsey with a monster game, 3 touchdowns. Mahomes with a great game. They get it on a Kelsey 17-yard touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game to win 30-27. I give Herbert a lot of credit. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were back for this game. Keenan Allen was on a pitch count, and Mike Williams got injured in like the first or second quarter, so he basically didn't have them. Keenan Allen also fumbled in this game too, so they were both like negatives in this game. But Herbert, I just give him a lot of credit. He's not working with a lot, and he's still making the most out of it. Almost beat the Chiefs. Came down to 30 seconds left against Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. He got them to a touchdown, potential game-winning drive with 1:46 on the clock. You could say it's too much time, and obviously you just need the touchdown at that point. You just need points, but and they were right there. It was only a 6-yard touchdown, but it's just any amount of time for Mahomes to go down. And this one had to be a touchdown. It's just too much time, no matter what it is. It's almost crazy to think that it could be like 20 seconds and it's almost too much time. But I give them a lot of credit. But even saying that, they're 5-5. They're gonna fight for a wild card spot. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough. Obviously Broncos, Raiders are not in it. Jaguars, I don't think the Colts are really in it. Texans not in it. Browns, Steelers not in it. So it's going to be between them. It's going to be between the Chargers, Browns/Ravens. Whoever wins that division is obviously going to make the playoffs. But the other team, we'll see. And then, the teams in the AFC East. It could be any 4 of them. Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, Bills. So there's only about, I would say one of the teams in the AFC North is guaranteed making the wild card. So I would say there's 2 spots remaining, and there's, 4 teams who could fill those 2 spots. So we'll see. I think it's probably Patriots, Jets who drop out, and it's Chargers and Dolphins/Bills who get in. But we'll see. We still have a couple of games left, and injuries, quarterback play, schedule. It's all about all of that. But yeah, Chiefs 8-2. Obviously, they're running away with that division right now. Again, everyone got all these weapons, all these different players and pieces to try and beat the Chiefs. They lose Tyreek Hill. People think they're going down. Again, I never thought they would make the playoffs. I wasn't sure they'd win the division. I picked the Chargers. I think injuries did hurt the Chargers, but yeah, the people thought that this was the downfall of the Chiefs or that they wouldn't make the playoffs or bad things were starting to happen. I never bought into it, and it's again proven true. They're 8-2. I would say right now they're the best team in the AFC. I would still say the Bills overall, but the last couple weeks have been very shaky for them. Bills did win this week, but not the prettiest win. But yeah, they're 8-2, looking towards another AFC Championship game. That's what they're looking for. But other games, just to say the final score. We had Bears Falcons. Falcons win 27-24. Fields another good game, but couldn't lead them down on a potential touchdown / field goal drive to extend the game or win the game for like the second or third week in a row. But so they lose. Like I said, Bills beat Browns 31-23. Rams lost to the Saints 27-20. Stafford got a concussion in this game. We'll see what happens. I mean, who knows? They may just shut him down. That's like his second concussion. I don't know if the first one really happened or not. He was just in the protocol, but he did miss the game, so I'm assuming it did happen. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Rams. They look terrible. And again, the Lions have their pick, and that pick's looking like a top 5 pick, which is remarkable. And again, the Rams don't have their own draft pick for a couple of years, so they're in arguably the worst. It used to be the Saints who were in the worst spot. It's easily the Rams right now because it's old, they have no money, and they have no draft capital. Again, they won the Super Bowl. You take it, but these next couple years are going to be very, very rocky. So yeah, that was one of the other games I didn't mention. Raiders beat the Broncos in OT, game-winning touchdown to Devontae Adams, 22-16. Again, what does it really matter for these teams, I guess? I mean, Broncos, they don't have their first-round pick, so that hurts as well because that's looking like a top 5 pick too. But yeah, those are the games from this week. Now we'll get into the 3 picks for Thanksgiving. So the games are Bills at Lions at 12:30, Giants Cowboys at 4:30, and then Patriots Vikings at 8:20. So definitely good games, definitely exciting games. I feel like it's usually the Lions game that's really not that exciting because one, it's always the Lions. They're never really that exciting, and then they usually kind of play a team, one that would just like destroy them, or it's just not that good of a team, or it's just not like exciting of a game. But one, you have the Bills, so it's obviously going to be exciting. But then you have the Lions, who are, again, they're putting up points, they're proving that they can hang in with teams, and they've done it all season long. They've just lost close games, but they're playing really tough. Again, Dan Campbell's done a great job with that team. But this game is -9.5 Bills. It's tough, like I'd want to say, again, the Bills just played in Detroit, so I'm assuming they're just staying there, because why would you go back to Buffalo? I don't know, maybe they are, I don't know what they're doing, but they just played in Detroit. But I want to say Bills, because I want to say that they'll right the ship, and they'll look like the Bills of early season. I just don't know if I can. There just seems to be something off with them, just a little bit off. I still expect them to win this game, but I am going to take Lions plus 9.5. I think they could keep it within a touchdown, or at least keep it. Now, the thing with 9.5 is like they're probably going to lose by 10, and then I'm obviously not going to win this, but I'm going to go Lions. I think that they can keep it close, keep it relevant. They have enough firepower offensively to to keep up the score. It just comes down to their defense and whether their defense can limit Josh Allen and just make it difficult for him. Even though they put up 31 on the Browns, it wasn't a pretty 31. It was, they had to really fight for it. The ground game came in big for them in that game. So, it's been a little bit of a struggle for them, and I think they struggle for one more week, but then they get kind of a mini bye, and then they take off for that stretch run and then for the playoffs. So again, Lions plus 9.5 is my first pick. Second game, same line. Cowboys are minus 9.5 against the Giants. I'm going with the Cowboys. Obviously I'm a Cowboys fan, but the way they're rolling, I know it was just the one game. Even though they lost to the Packers, they were, the offense was clicking in that game. I think Aaron Rodgers kind of just does what he does against us, and he just, took over the game, but destroyed the Vikings. Short week, Giants, again, not the most talented team. They actually just lost their best receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson, and that just shows you how, what the receiving room has looked like this season, that he's their best receiver, but he just got injured, so they have 0 receivers, so it's just stop the run. It's Jones and Barkley. That's all they're going to do. It's just, as long as you could stop the run, which again, that's the weakness of the Cowboys, but that they can only run the ball. But certain teams, it's like, yeah, we know you're going to run the ball, but at least you have a quarterback who could throw it. You have someone on the outside who can make plays. they don't have anyone on the outside, and they don't really like Jones throwing it because that's where he makes mistakes. You know, he hadn't thrown an interception since week 3 against the Cowboys, and then he threw 2 on Sunday in Detroit because Barkley had 15 carries for like 22 yards. So they had to throw the ball, and obviously they were losing that entire game. But so he threw 2 interceptions. So that's the plan. It's stop the run, force them to throw it, get a lead, stay up, be comfortable. Again, don't be comfortable enough to where you let them back in the game, but have a 10 to 17 point lead throughout the game, and keep pushing the ball. Even if you're not scoring, you're at least flipping field position. You're pinning them back. You're taking time off the clock. That's what you got to do. So I'm taking them -9.5 for the second game, and then last game, Patriots Vikings. It's gonna be a good game. I'm actually going to go Vikings. I think it will be close. They're only -2.5, but I think it will be a close game. But the way they just got embarrassed on Sunday, I don't think that happens again. I don't think they're that good of a team, but they still have enough talent on that team to not get embarrassed like that, especially 2 weeks in a row. Now, the concern for them is that their offensive line's banged up right now. You know, Darisaw is injured. He's not playing in this game. That's their best offensive lineman. A couple other guys got banged up or just haven't really played well recently. And the Patriots, again, they're all about their defense. They want to rush the passer. Judon's having a monster season. He has like 13 sacks. And that's a problem. And that will come up in this game. But they really got to run the ball. They got to run it. You know, Cook actually wasn't bad in the first quarter against the Cowboys. I think he had like 40 yards rushing. Then they just went away from him. And the game wasn't out of hand at that point. It was still like a 7-10 point game. So I think if they stick with the run, do the pass off that, play action, let Kirk get some extra time in the pocket, and find Jefferson, find Thielen, find Hawkinson, I think they'll be fine. So they're not going to score 3 points again. They're definitely going to score at least 20. And the offense for the Pats isn't great. They want to run the ball with Stevenson and Harris, but I think the Vikings have a good enough defense to be able to stop that. Again, you get embarrassed like that, you don't come out the next week and get embarrassed again. So I think things will change. Or, you kind of reset, you erase it from your mind, you go into this week and you attack it. So a recap, I have Bills +9, and I have Lions +9.5, Cowboys -9.5, and then Vikings -2.5. So that's it for this week. We'll see how those picks go. Then again, when we come back after Thanksgiving, we'll recap those games and then also do my 2 other picks for Sunday. So again, thank you for watching. Check out the Cowboys video. This will be out Tuesday night. Check out the Cowboys video on Wednesday, and then check out the preview video and the recap of the Thanksgiving games. I would say Saturday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day it is. Definitely check that out. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.